Welcome to Advanced Patient Care, the exclusive podcast series by Vance Thompson Vision. Our purpose is to keep you at the forefront of the optometry field through dynamic insights, practical clinical tips, and engaging expert discussions. Join us on a journey of continuous learning and professional growth as we delve into the latest advancements in eye care. Our mission is clear: empower eye care providers with the knowledge and tools needed to provide exceptional patient care. At Advanced Patient Care, we are dedicated to elevating eye care one episode at a time. And welcome to this episode. I'm pumped to be here. I'll introduce our panelists. Kelly, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
I'm Kelly Seeps. I'm an optometrist at Vance Thompson Vision in South Sioux City, Nebraska. I've been here for a little over 2 years now, so I'm excited to be here too.
Cool. Brandon?
Hey, everybody. My name is Brandon Bartman. I'm an ophthalmologist with Vance Thompson Vision, and I have been practicing at Vance Thompson Vision Omaha site for 6 years, I think is the right. Sometimes I think it's 7. Sometimes I think it's shorter than that, but I think 6 is where I've rounded to recently, and I love it, and it's great, and I'm excited to be here.
That's perfect. And I think it is 6 because I'm at 8. And I'm
okay. Yeah, it's whatever Mike is, but -2.
Yeah,
sounds right.
And I'm at Vance Thompson Vision up in Fargo, and we're just over 8 years here. So this episode is maybe a little bit unique and different. It's got a strong personal tie to Brandon and myself, and we'll get into that a little bit. But and we got a visitor, Teddy. What's up, Teddy? This episode has a personal touch to Brandon and I, like I said, and we're going to talk about something that we talk to patients about multiple times a day. And you guys listening talk to patients and see patients multiple times a day. But we're going to talk about cataract surgery, but more on the education side of things. And so, Brandon, I guess I'll ask you, what's the biggest problem when it comes to talking to patients about cataract surgery?
Yeah, well, that's a very leading question, Mike, and I'm glad that you asked. Thumbs up to that. I honestly, if everybody, I'm going to phrase it this way: if everybody could just understand things the way that we as doctors understand how lenses work and what we can expect for them, how we can expect them to work in a given patient's eyes, they would make better educated decisions. And so trying to not convince, but properly explain to a -2 myope how cataract surgery with a monofocal lens targeted at plano will change their uncorrected view of the world is really difficult. Because the most common thing we hear is, well, I do fine reading, I just want better distance vision. And it's hard to fully explain what a monofocal lens is and the focal length and what that does for their vision. And so, I think one of the things that hopefully we'll get into a little bit here is how I really believe that patient education in cataract surgery is the differentiator between good and really great cataract surgery practices. I think we all have access to wonderful advanced technology. Safety and results are hygiene in the sense that it's only really noticeable from a patient when it's absent because it's just expected. But it's really patient education that will set practice apart. And that's why we spend so much time and energy on patient education for cataract surgery.
Yeah. And Kelly, I'm going to phrase it to you a little different way, but who are some of your happiest patients?
I think the patients where we nail the outcome, where we've met their expectations and they come back and they're like, man, I didn't realize how bad my vision really was. And, I think it ranges. Patients can be super happy with a monofocal lens, and they can also be really happy with a multifocal lens. It's all about, just like Brandon said, setting expectations to make sure that we reach patients' visual goals and needs. And yeah, it's all about education and setting that up for patients.
So your happiest patients are the ones who you set the expectations properly and that's where they landed. Your unhappiest patients are those that are surprised or have.
Yeah, I think unhappy patients are just ones that, maybe didn't fully, well, those -2 myopes who don't realize that those might be some of the unhappiest patients, who maybe don't fully understand what we mean by when we say, you're going to lose your near vision. There's probably something in the back of their head that's like, hey, you're going to be able to read some things, but no, it's, you're going to lose all of that near vision. And so I think the unhappiest patients are just ones that don't fully grasp the conversation. And part of that may just come from, coming to this hours long exam, meeting a bunch of different people. They're nervous to begin with, and then we go into this long conversation. And so some patients I plan to have multiple conversations with them leading up to surgery, just to make sure that they have a good understanding of what to expect.
So you're telling me, but you told the patient, so like you told the patient like, hey, you're going to lose this, but then they come back unhappy. So are you saying your patient wasn't listening?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
So I think what the problem is we're saying a lot of stuff and patients are listening, but they've been in our office for an hour or two, like you said, they're dilated, a lot of information in. We think they're understanding it. For us, we can say this, 100 times a day, and it's old hat for us, but for them it's new, and so it's a little confusing. And if you guys don't understand or believe, do a little exercise with me here. I'll just have everybody who, if you're driving, don't do this, but if you're not driving, close your eyes and just think of the color green. And then open your eyes. And was the color green you were thinking the same color as this green around my speaker box, with the same green as Brandon's logo on his hat? Was it the green in the flowers in Kelly's picture? Was it the 3-4 different shades over my shoulder of green? So, I was thinking of the green on Brandon's hat, but you guys probably experienced something different. And so even though I'm telling you to like think of this color green, we're picking out different color greens. So when we say it's going to be blurry up close or blurry in the distance, that's when patients are bummed and they're like, you told me it was going to be blurry, but you didn't tell me it was going to be blurry. And you're like, well, I did, and so that's where the expectations and reality don't match, like you said, Kelly. So words are hard to understand. Pictures are better. Brandon, what's the solution?
The solution really, in a perfect world, would be able to get patients to be able to be immersed in an environment that simulates their expected visual outcome. In reality, it would be great to try it before you buy it. Realistic, even if they're not paying anything extra for it, people want to be educated about their decisions, and the best education is as close as we can possibly simulate it to post-operative result. And so if there was a way to do that, I think it would be amazing.
Yeah. And so that's what we did with GreenMan. And so a few years ago, Brandon and I were out on a hunt together, and it was probably our one and only hunt of the year that each one of us does. Maybe you go hunting more than I do, but we were sitting there talking, and I said, hey, I got this idea. I got a VR headset. It's really cool. And I think we can use it to, do something more, maybe educate patients on cataract surgery. And Brandon goes, I've been thinking the same thing. And we kind of looked at each other in awe, and we're like, and I said, I don't know what to do. It sounds like it's a lot of work. And you're like, no, we can do it. Let's make it happen. And so that's about 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
And so we decided, we got some time on our hands between clinic and family and surgery and all the other stuff. Let's get this going. And so Brandon dove in and got going on the software and found some people to help us build it. And we've been tinkering with it ever since. And now we're getting ready to bring it to the masses. And so we've been using it a little bit in our clinic and in other clinics, and we'll kind of share experience here in a different segment of this episode. But anything more on the origins of GreenMan that I glossed over that you want to add, Brandon?
Oh, that's right. We were probably on version, I believe, 5.99 right now. I don't know why we're not quite calling it 6, but there have been multiple iterations, and I actually can't wait to kind of think through out loud of all the advancements we've made, and I'm happy to do it now, or if you want to do it in the future, in just a minute here, we can do that too. But it's been a journey where we first wanted to almost prove like a null hypothesis. We wanted to say it's not possible, right? Let's prove to ourselves it's not possible before we forget about this. And so we dove really hard into the first version of the software, and it was a heavy lift, and it was lots of, back and forth with our software engineers and the development team. And they put something out, and it was like, guys, I think we did it, right? I think we can do this. So we were able to add these effects in a virtual environment that allowed us to change focal points and superimpose different visual profiles from dysphotopsia and halos and glare. It was incredible, and it was a pretty simple first swing at that, and it has grown into the ability to treat each eye independently, to fine tune the focal points for each eye independently, to provide the appropriate amount of cylinder to the 10th decimal to each eye independently. And we've got a few different environments now that we'll talk a little bit about, but it is light years ahead of where it was, and it's probably light years behind of where it can go.
So we'll wrap up this segment on that note. So what we believe the problem was is an education problem where we were saying one thing, patients were maybe not on the same playing field or understanding it the same. And we're like, man, if you could just experience it or try it before you buy it or test drive a car so everybody knew what we were talking about, that would make life so much easier for us, explaining things so much better for the staff, showing patients these things, and ultimately the best experience for patients, because now they know what they're getting themselves into before they spend all this time, effort, energy, money into cataract surgery. And so they know what it's going to be like on the other side. And so that's where GreenMan came from. We'll head on into the next segment, which is going to be a little bit more about how it works in the clinic, what it's all in detail. Okay. So we identified the problem, we found the solution, we think, and we were able to engineer it and get it set up. So, Kelly, can you maybe walk us through what a typical patient flow is without GreenMan?
Yeah, so typically patients come in, they get worked up by a technician. They go through multiple topography scans, biometry, which is measuring the eye to determine what lens implant they need. And during this time, once they've done most of their testing, the staff, the tech who's ever working them up will get them dilated, and they load them in the room and mark them ready for the doctor to see. And it's about an hour, I would say, long process on average.
And then how about, you've been using GreenMan in the clinic, and where have you guys been putting GreenMan?
We put that between the testing and dilation. And so instead of getting dilated during the testing portion, our staff is going to run the visual or the OCTs first, MAC and nerve. And as long as the macular health is normal and the patient's otherwise seeing well enough to participate with GreenMan, which I'm assuming we'll get into in just a little bit, they hold off on dilation. And then we have multiple techs now trained to run the patient through the GreenMan simulation. And then they'll dilate the patient, and then I'll go in with them and talk with them. So it does extend their visit by maybe another 15 to 30 minutes if we're adding in dilation. But overwhelmingly, I haven't had many patients, be upset that they had to wait that much longer. If anything, they're happier that they got to experience that.
Yeah. So so it's sort of another diagnostic part of the experience. And like you said, it adds about 15 minutes because they're going to get dilated anyways, for the cataract eval. Brandon, can you explain a little bit of the like what it is. Can you explain in words what the GreenMan experience is for patients? We're going to put a link in to those that are watching so you can kind of see a little demo of it. But Brandon, can you explain it in words?
Yeah, in the first part, we kind of alluded to the fact that this is a simulation environment, right? But how do we do it? Well, we built the software to run off of commonly available VR headsets. We are on our second version of hardware. We've gotten to be kind of cordless or wireless now. We're using the Oculus or Meta Quest 3. And a patient will put this on their head and be immersed in a fully 360-degree environment that's interactive for them too. And what we would have a technician do is obtain their biometry. And the most important thing for us is, you know, how much astigmatism is on their cornea. And one of the keys is, well, the astigmatic cylinder in their present refraction doesn't necessarily equal their corneal cylinder or anticipated postoperative astigmatic refraction. And so what we're trying to do is estimate, uncorrected, what will their visual profile look like with that degree of corneal cylinder. So we're using that, we're putting that data in, and then we're allowing patients to see a variety of lens options that and what those visual results could be expected for their given corneal cylinder. So we can take them through a monofocal profile in both eyes. At distance, we can take them through an extended depth of focus profile or a multifocal profile. And right now, all of these are kind of generic lens profiles. We don't have brand name lenses because at the end of the day, you know, surgeons will choose to use any number of lenses. What we want to do is approximate the visual result of that category of lens. We can also treat each eye independently, as I alluded to before. So if somebody wants to see what monovision, right eye distance, left eye close would look like, we can do that. And with a click of a button, we can swap it to the other side. We have a few different environments. So a patient might choose to, you know, pick up a cookbook in the kitchen environment and look around and see what different length where they might have to hold something based on a defocus curve that we've obtained and put into the system. And then we can also transport them into the second environment where they can be seated in the driver's seat of a car at night with moving cars coming past them to demonstrate what that visual profile from a halo, multifocal lens or extended depth lens or uncorrected astigmatism can look like. And so what we really want to do is tell them, this is a visual approximation. Pay attention to the relative differences between these options to get a better idea of what these might do for you.
So to summarize, so patient sits down in chair, we put a VR headset on them, and then a technician, you know, they're all of a sudden, boom, like they're instantly in a room with a computer, a cookbook, you know, it's an apartment or a car. And the technician says, hey, here's what it would be like if you had a monofocal lens after cataract surgery. And we're using the patient's own astigmatism to help guide this that we take from their biometry. And then they get a sense of what, you know, blurry means, like we mentioned earlier, both at distance and up close without glasses on, you know, because they had a diopter of astigmatism, they got a regular lens, they're going to be, you know, need glasses to touch things up. Or if you put them in a toric or a light adjustable lens or an extended depth of focus or a multifocal, you know, we can show them all those options and they can, you know, like you said, test drive it and go, okay, here's option 1, 2, 3, you know, up to infinity, and we can do monovision. And so, Kelly, you mentioned, you know, certain criteria for patients. So, you know, these patients have, is there people that can't use it? Or you use it on everybody or?
Yeah, we don't use it on everyone. If their cataract is bad enough to where they're 2100 or worse, they're not going to be able to see well in the VR headset anyways. Everything will look blurry to them no matter what lens they get to try on. Anyone with pretty significant macular pathology, again, these patients aren't, even if we're not doing GreenMan, they're not going to be a candidate for multifocal lens technology. But I think that's still, you know, depending on the amount of astigmatism you have, you know, sometimes we make exceptions for certain patients if we think it'll make a meaningful difference for them. So those I think would be the main ones. Patients who have a history of seizures, only because that's a requirement of the actual headset itself and not necessarily your guys's requirement. or vision wise, I guess.
So basically, if you can drive yourself to the office, you can wear this headset.
Well, you'd be surprised at some of the patients that drive themselves.
Yeah, that's good point. I guess what I was saying is the big question Brandon and I get all the time is like, hey, how can you use this if the patient's already got cataract? And it's like, well, a lot of cataract patients are living a full life. They're hunting, golfing, fishing, driving, doing all that stuff. And so they can use VR. But Brandon, what if you've never used VR before? Can they?
Yeah, majority of our patients in our kind of trial studies where we were keeping close track of the data and figuring out who was using it, who wasn't, who valued it, and who didn't. Majority hadn't used it before. I don't think it's a prerequisite. It's pretty simple to put on and just exist in the environment. My favorite reaction is, wow, because it's such a neat thing to, see in 3 dimension and be transported to a completely different environment than the exam room, right? And you're all of a sudden, maybe it's dark in the exam room, you put on this headset and it's bright in this little apartment, and it's wild then taking it off and people are like, oh, wow, okay, wow, that's I'm back to reality,
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so, Kelly, you mentioned where you use it. I think Brandon and I use it in a similar fashion, but the cool thing with this is you can use it the moment the patient walks in the door. Our ultimate dream would be like walking into a Apple store or choose your technology store, and they pick it up, put it on, and learn about it right when they walk in. But you can use it after the doctor sees them and goes through the options, or the counselor's talking to them, or they need to come back for another time. So it's really versatile of where you can put it and place it. And so we've had good experience with it. We've had a lot of fun with it, and keep fine tuning it a little bit. But the best part is you can customize it to each individual patient. I want to move on and talk maybe a little bit about some real data and some of our personal experience in this next part. So we'll move on to that. So we've talked about the problem, what we believe is the solution with GreenMan, and kind of where it fits, what the program actually is and where it fits in the clinic. But let's get into some real data, because it'd be very easy for us to sit up here and be like, yeah, it's the greatest thing ever. But if we don't have any science or data to back it up, then we're just salespeople. And again, the whole goal of this is to educate patients and make sure that we're meeting their expectations so they're happy. And Brandon coined this phrase with me: is an educated patient is a happy patient. And it's so true. So Brandon, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the, we've done 2 studies looking at this, and we looked at our own data from it, but we also looked at patient satisfaction. Do you want to comment on a little bit of each of those?
Yeah. So last year, when we first got what we would consider a minimum viable product, something that could be functional, we had to make sure that it worked and what people thought about it. And so we put it on patients that came through Mike's clinic in Fargo and my clinic here in Omaha, and basically took all comers, whoever was available. If we could get it on in regular flow, let's try it. Let's see what they choose for their lenses and see how they felt about it. And we call that the pilot study. We had about 233 some odd patients, and at the same time, over the course of about a month, we also tracked the patients that maybe we just didn't get to. They were served as our control, and we see so many patients in a given day. Couldn't get the headset on everybody because we only had one, and so they served as our control. And what we wanted to do is understand, how did they like it, right? And I forget the exact number, but 86-ish% of patients that put it on enjoyed it and would recommend it to a friend or family. So that felt good. If we were doing something that they wouldn't recommend, we'd probably have to abandon it or change it significantly.
Yeah.
And then one of the interesting things that we found in attempt to educate them better on their IOL options, we found that our control group chose an advanced technology lens 26% of the time, which is standard, about our average between the 2 of our clinics. And in the patients that wore the headset, we found 57% of people chose an advanced technology lens. And so that was a fairly remarkable thing that I don't know that Mike or I really anticipated. I think we had a suspicion that that might happen if we really explained what to expect from different lens options, but we were both blown away by that. And we loved the patient satisfaction score. And we knew that we had something, but we also knew that we were doing it in a clinic for the two founders of this software, so we had to take it elsewhere. And so with another test that we call the beta test, we brought it into 3 different clinics with varying degrees of, ocular pathology coming through and prior refractive cataract percentages. And we were basically able to replicate that data. And Kelly was a part of one of those clinics in our South Sioux City office. And I bet we'll ask for some of her feedback. But one of the biggest things that we're really, really excited about is that it moved the needle in terms of patients feeling educated after the cataract discussion. And that's what I really think holds the biggest value with this product.
Yeah, thanks. So doctor's happy, patient's happy, and willing to recommend it, like you said, is the biggest part. Kelly, how's it changed your experience when talking to patients about different IOL options?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it myself, and even just myself seeing the difference in near vision as like a absolute presbyope, and then you see what your near vision is like with a multifocal lens with a click of a button is crazy. And so I can imagine, it just makes the patient experience a lot better. And again, it's all about setting those expectations. And so I still go through my full IOL discussion with the patient, but I started off by saying, hey, what do you think of this, of the virtual reality? What do you think of the lens options? Is there any lens that you're particularly interested in? And that can kind of help tailor my discussion towards that patient. And I'm like, and then it's easy too. I'm like, do you remember you saw those halos around those lights in the kitchen? That's an expected side effect of a multifocal lens, but you can see the benefit of it, of getting a full range of vision after surgery. I also like comparing astigmatism correction versus not having the astigmatism corrected. Patients will come in and be like, well, I didn't even know I had astigmatism. And so it's an easy way to explain to them, well, this is what your vision uncorrected will be like after cataract surgery with a monofocal lens versus even just an astigmatism correcting lens. So
Conversations maybe a little bit deeper on certain options that they're interested in, instead of you kind of laying out the buffet for them. They already know what they want, and you can tell them, hey, that's an excellent choice. You're really going to like ... kind of like when you go to a restaurant and you have the menu, but you choose what you want. And they're like, oh, you're going to love that filet with a little bit of, toppings on it and everything like that. Cool. And so I guess I'll wrap up this part with any last comments that you want to add to this part, or parting thoughts that you want to give?
Yeah, I think overwhelmingly we've had a really positive experience with it. Most patients, when I ask, it's probably more than 86%. After they try it, they're like, that was so cool. I had one patient specifically who I walked in the room and she's like, I thought I came in here wanting monovision cataract surgery, and now I want a multifocal lens. And I don't think it's necessarily just about getting more patients to do an advanced technology lens. I think the overarching theme is just making sure that patients are properly educated, so that after surgery, they know what to expect.
Brandon, any parting thoughts? And also, when is this going to be widely available for everybody?
Great question. I'll start with that answer first. Widely available for everybody next year, right? We are soft launching to get it in the hands of a limited number of people Q1 of 2025. with the hope that we get it into as many clinics as we can as we build out our team to do so. We got to do it the right way. We don't want to overextend ourselves, but we've got something special and we want to get it to as many people that would benefit it as possible. So our goal is to push hard through 2025 to get it out there, and certainly in our VTV clinics, in 2025, Q1 2025 will be wonderful.
And anything else you want to add on GreenMan?
Yeah, I would. Kelly has really nailed it. And a patient example came up last week that has just been sticking in my head, that this patient hadn't had a chance to use GreenMan the first go around. And I was talking to her, and she had been waffling between a multifocal lens and monofocal. And I met her for surgery. She had decided on monofocal lens. We did her first eye. I walked into her pre-op bay for her second eye, and she looked at me with this kind of sunken look. She was smiling because I had explained everything as best I could. And she said, I think I have terrible regret, because she had chosen a lens, I think, and she had weighed less about, okay, what is it actually going to be like for the rest of my life compared to what's the investment currently, right? And I think that what I want to do with this product is eliminate that, right? If we can eliminate regret in cataract surgery options, we've done something. Even if it doesn't change the number of patients that choose a certain technology, if we can eliminate regret by educating better, we've done something significant for our field. And that's what we want to do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. My parting thought is it's just been a really fun journey, and I love that I get to do it with both you guys. And Brandon, you and I have been elbow deep in this for a while, and but it's just been fun to see the how happy it makes patients and how well it's been working in the clinic. And there's excitement in the industry about it, which makes us feel pretty good too. And so we'll see what happens in the next year, and we'll keep you all posted. And with that, we'll get ready to say our goodbyes. But if you want more, schedule your personalized mini fellowship at Vance Thompson Vision today, where you can literally immerse yourself, just like you can with GreenMan VR, in hands-on learning, gain insights from our experts, and take the next step towards excellence in eye care. And remember, the world of eye care is ever evolving, and so are we. Thank you all for your time. Have a great day, night, morning, weekend, whatever it is, and take care. Love you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.